she can be a real firecracker or something like that, he says. And welcome back to episode 2 of Super Neutral Bros. Continuing off last time, I am Jared.
Eric.
Jordan.
Zach.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so getting into episode 2, after leaving off episode 1, the boys find out that their dad is no longer around. Sam loses his girlfriend, and he wants, and I think that kind of carries over in this episode a little bit more than anything else from the first episode. And they head to Colorado. Now, what was the name of this episode? Does anybody remember?
Wendigo.
All right, so
Kind of spoils what the critter is, but
yeah, it's the first season. They're trying to get things going, I think, so that's kind of why they lead off with that.
also, speaking of leading off, what do you guys think of the opening of the episode not on Sam and Dean, but on the Monster of the Week intro attack thing?
Now, I can't say if that's a usual thing since I don't quite remember how much I've watched, but at least compared to the first episode, that's completely different. So, Eric, you want to break it down for us? What's happening in that first scene?
Yeah, so we get some dudes camping in the woods. You get that classic monster vibe. And then they're playing Nintendo DS
Yeah, what game is
competitively.
that? Anybody know what game that was?
Jordan, what could you play wirelessly as the DS?
It looked like Metroid Prime to me, but I don't.
Could you play Versus on that?
Multiplayer.
I don't even know if Metroid Prime is on the DS. I don't know if there's a DS version of it. I think that might just been GameCube like gameplay.
I think it was
Cropped
Dune.
That's
They were
fair.
playing Dune because they put Dune on everything.
I don't know.
Can it run?
I'd have to look. I'd have to watch it again.
Can it
I
run
wasn't-
Dune? Dune.
it could've been-
Oh, actually, I remember now. I was watching. I was like, it looked like Quake.
It might have been.
It might have been some old
I don't know if that's
version
on
of
the
Quake
DS
they
either, but-
Literally
ported
the
to the DS to multiplayer.
first note I had down for the episodes: what DS game do we think they're playing?
Well, we've given it our shot. Also, so you have a 2-person tent and a 1-person tent. Interesting.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
Like, did
I
you
feel
smell
like
that?
you either go all in with the 3-person to a tent, or you
3
each get one.
individuals.
It's a little weird for the way they set it
And
up.
personally, spoilers, as we always lead into, there are going to be spoilers, and this is going to be adult content. But personally, after the spoilers, I'll take a 5-second break. I'm glad that those 2 died because they left that guy out.
I'll say it.
Also, what do you guys think
I'm not
of
sorry.
as far as like a monster attack sequence goes? I think that was done pretty well, like as far as
It
horror
was.
goes.
Mhm.
It was.
Mhm.
I mean,
Like
you get the natural one guy goes out to take a leak, boom, gone.
Also, the calmness of how they responded to him being like screaming for his life. Like
Even if
They didn't like
your
that
first
guy.
thought is bear,
Right,
which
right.
still should not warrant that.
Hmm.
huh? Usually my friend screams like that when he's pissing.
He probably knows if it's brown, you lay down.
It's
If
the
it's black,
burning.
you fight
Finally
back.
reached that stone.
It's Bernie. He yells that much often. Gotta get that shit checked out, man.
You gotta get it. But
He's just flaring up again. He'll be all right.
I
Ladder got
love
stuck in the zipper again.
2 things I really loved about it. Once they turn off the lights, is their willingness to be dark with the camera, like not light everything. On a TV show is kind of impressive. And then when it pulls him out of the tent, a great effect.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of rips open the guy who's by himself, his tent, and like I assumed watching the episode that the first two just boop dead. And actually all three almost, because I didn't quite remember the episode.
Yeah.
So I was just assuming they're dead. So that episode was going to be based on them, using the evidence, that type of stuff from the bodies. But we find out later that that is not the case. So that leads to Sam and Dean driving. And it leads me into the scariest part of the whole damn show for me, the jump scare. It is a flashback to Sam going to her funeral, which we're not even sure if he did or not. It's just kind of a flashback to it. And who wears khakis with a dark black suit jacket, by the way? I mean, he tried pulling that off. They were cheap at that time. And he goes to the grave. And I don't know, is he on his knees, like, I don't know, crying or saying something? And then all of a sudden, hand through.
Yeah.
That was my jump scare of the week right there for me.
So, I was going to ask, Jordan, as a resident coward, how did you feel about the initial scene and then going into that jump scare?
The initial scene, I really liked the initial scene. It was very creepy. The jump scare made me cry a little, but it was... I definitely think the jump scare was scarier than the initial scene. Just like out of the shock factor. It also could be because I've seen it before. I remember I kind of knew the gist of the episode, but I didn't know exactly, like, detailed what was going to happen. So that could play a factor.
I've got to come clean on the jump scare. I actually missed that because the lead into that was so perplexing to me. I was taking so many notes, and it was completely wasted. 'Cause it was like I assume it was a dream sequence or something. But I'm like, all right. So he shows up to the grave. It is freshly dug, but he's wearing a suit. No one else is around. I'm like, so he skipped the funeral, but shows up the same day anyway. There were just too many questions that were running through my head, and I'm writing everything down, and I hear a noise. I'm like, I missed something there. I'm sure it's a hand shot out of the guy. I didn't even see that part. I was like, I'm sure a hand shot out of the ground or something. But I was just...
I was right there with you, Zach. My first note on that was, so he loaded a shotgun and then went to a gravestone?
Right.
He's
right.
putting salt rounds
into
that gravestone.
Like,
she is not
right.
So
and it's also, I was just like, how long has it been that they already have a gravestone? Like it is like
gravestone.
Because usually months after they were like,
he's already bringing flowers to it, and he's in a suit. I'm like, so did he go to the funeral, leave, go get flowers, and go back to the gravestone again? And then the hand pops out. But I had my phone up for note taking purposes because I thought this was going to be deeply important. Wait. And then we jump into a car driving down the highway.
You guys don't have gravestones already?
Jared, we're gonna need.
Yeah, that's all. My wife got me mine, and it's already got the death date on there. She said it was a mistake.
It's got the date and everything.
It's so weird.
Why does it say 2025?
Why does it say a mysterious fire? Like I don't know what.
Don't worry about it. He sure loved playing with fire. Why is that the note on there?
It's when the questionable death clause goes up on your life insurance policy. We can cash it in no matter what.
Yeah. So speaking of them going into the car, a thing we discovered after our last recording, both were confused about it being not Metallica. Apparently, the first season of Supernatural, because it was with the WB at the time, and they didn't think ahead, only had licensing for their songs for broadcasts and physical home media, nothing digital. So they couldn't pay for the rights for it. So there'll be times where like, why are they listening? Like they're supposed to be like this '80s rock kind of music. You'll hear some random shit kind of jammed into the music. Like I know the song that's playing in the car is supposed to be a different song than what's playing. And that's going to be the case with the whole first season, and then we'll get all the music we're supposed to get for everything after that. Which, for the
I
people
assume
who are long-term huge fans watching, I am going to try and find a DVD copy for the last episode of the show, because if you're a big fan, you know there's an integral song that needs to be heard, and it just, you know.
I'm guessing. I assume that was more of a case for just like the time that it was, and it's season one. They weren't gonna. They probably didn't secure those rights for a lot of things.
Yeah.
This was '05, wasn't it?
Yeah, which means the production and licensing was all done like in '04.
Yeah, so I would assume. I mean, streaming definitely wasn't up at that point, or not to any extent that you're.
You're copywriting it.
But I guess fall the year after they got it, or they went back and did it down to that point.
It was because it went from WB to CW, and CW's whole thought was look towards the future.
Okay,
On
so
entertainment.
they might have been on the leading edge of it even.
Yep. Anyways, what's their what's so I can't remember.
So
Do we
they
have
get
anything else
there.
at the scene? Nothing else is really happening in the car scene. Is there just
No.
some?
They just
This-
roll up. They're talking about how this is in the middle of nowhere. They can't understand why their dad would give them this coordinates, and they roll up pretty much to, it looks like a ranger station, not a town or anything, just a camping ranger station, kind of where you go to pay to camp in a certain area, that type of stuff. And they come in, and they're looking at a map, and all of a sudden the ranger talks to them, and he asks them what they're doing there, and we get our second fake thing. You know, they were agents in the first episode. This episode, they are University of Colorado students.
Recycle.
Yeah, recycle. Yes, recycle.
Wait,
And
what is it? University of College, like land use or something?
yes,
Just
and
recycle.
yeah, they're like, we're here to write a paper, and Dean goes with the recycle, and the guy
And-
doesn't buy it at all. He doesn't buy it at all. He immediately connects them to a girl who had been in earlier, who was worried about her brother. And they kind of take that hint and they work off that. You know, he goes, she can be a real firecracker or something like that, he says.
Well, that's a fun bit for the episode. I just coughed into my beer. I will be right back.
I didn't think what I said was that great.
Eric
I
really
He was
appreciated
upset because
that.
the term was
I gave
hot
us
tamale.
approximately 3 minutes to get through the rest of this episode with decency. So characters that are introduced. All right, main characters of this one are the sister, and I didn't really think she's that significant. I didn't even get her name. Did anybody get her name?
Haley.
Sister number one.
Yeah, it was like Haley or Kaylee or something like that.
It was Haley.
Hold on, Zach. What did you say?
Sister number one. I think that's what it said in
Sister.
the credits.
In the credits, it's just
What are
number
there
one.
other nuns there too?
Well, there was brother one and sister one. The one that almost died had a name. I don't
Tommy.
remember that one either because he didn't feel very important to me.
Dave. I don't.
I think the one guy we're all really concerned about is
Is Roy.
Roy was
Yeah.
definitely the episode
let's talk
standout.
about
The
Roy.
highlight of the
Oh.
episode.
So, he's the highlight of the episode for sure. But I also think that the guy who was like the survivor as a kid telling his story,
He was probably the best
That was a good.
like solo
Good side character.
one.
he was actually my favorite scene of the show, probably.
Because no one
the
believed him, anything like that. So
And it's also a great like horror setup piece because you get the description of how this thing operated
Yeah.
and acted, and you get to see the damage it did.
I mean, it unlocked the door. It didn't break in or anything. It unlocked the door.
Creepy
Yeah,
description of it.
Yeah, that
I
specifically
like
said
how
like,
that is. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I specifically took a note on the fact that like the unlocking the door thing is unnerving for like the way they did
Yeah.
like told that story.
Yes, and that they got to do it. They opened the episode by showing you what this thing can do, and then instead of just continually pounding that point, all right, we're gonna find a different way to exhibit what this might like. It definitely a creative way to go about it, and
And kind of interesting that he
added to
survived.
this monster.
when every other time it's taken everybody.
Yeah.
I assumed it had something to do with the fire. He said he was sleeping by the
Yeah,
fire.
that's
I thought that was
Maybe
there
when
you
you
go.
Oh,
get too
that's
close
a
to
because
the
they
great
do bring
fire.
fire in
I didn't
later,
even
don't they?
connect the dots with that.
Yeah, so
that makes a lot of sense.
that was my big. I was like, had to be fire.
Gonna
Yeah.
try this again.
One thing I think
Success.
This isn't a big can. I'm just 3'4".
that one thing I do appreciate about the episode is that obviously it's 2005. The CGI quality is not great, and we see that later where there's a scene where it's kind of bad. But I think a good way they circumvented it for the most part was just talking about it, showing like shadows of it. When it's
Oh,
all
they
in the
definitely
dark.
jaws it the whole way through.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, and I think that was
if
the
we
right
got
way
a
to do
full 10-second view of this thing, we'd be like,
No,
what?
yeah,
The first time you see its fucking face, though, where it's like right next to Sam,
Yeah.
that's a
It
nice
was
little jump
spooky.
scare.
was
You know,
good.
it was good,
That
but
was
like
good.
they showed what they could get away with, and that's they didn't push it to the point where it's not scary anymore. Because I think
Yeah,
I'm sure there's limits on those kinds of things. Like if you see it walk in too much, you're like, well, that's just
yeah. Seeing too much of the monster kind of puts you off sometimes. Like, well, now it's kind of
Yep.
dumb.
Here's the thing that I don't quite understand with the whole thing is they know it's going to be somewhere hidden, somewhere safe. Okay. Well, the county / national park would have the markings of every single mine, uh, campsite, cave that they had found. And this is an old mine that they do find it in later. How was that not marked out? You know what I mean? That
I think it's one of those things, though, like if you find a campsite and it looks like a bear attack, you think bear attack.
Well, I understand that, but but Sam and Dean, they don't know. They know what it is. They have an idea, and that it'd probably be in a safe place like that. So how does when they're in there, and they find out later. So it's
you just walk around until it knocks
Right,
you out
exactly.
and drags you in, and then
And
you're
Right.
there.
Right.
but you drop your drop candies as you're knocked out.
Your
The M&M's just
your little
tr-
M&M.
Yeah.
Better than breadcrumbs.
What do you think that kid was listening to the whole time when they were filing around? I'm talking about, is that the brother? Is
In
that
the
not
original
brother?
run,
That's
or
the younger brother.
in the
The,
streaming re-air? Because
I'm gonna go ahead and guess. Man, looking at that kid, 2005,
Alanis
like
Morissette.
red jumpsuit apparatus. My Chemical Romance had their first album out then.
Maybe some Green Day.
Evanescence, Linkin Park. His parents are dead, and he's like 15, living with his sister. Yeah, that kid's like not listening to like.
It's definitely like a 33-year-old woman, mostly vocals. Whoever that was,
Oh my
maybe
God.
Sinead O'Connor, Alanis Morissette. It was one of those types.
He was
There's a
having a good
reason
time.
it wasn't so loud you could hear it while you were walking to him. There wasn't a single teenager in 2005 that you couldn't hear the music coming out of their headphones.
Exactly.
There's a
Because
reason you couldn't hear it.
You know that those headphones are pieces of shit
No,
too.
they're
so
crap.
They,
Yeah,
they were.
if you could, it was loud enough for you to hear every word singing. So was everybody else in a 8-foot radius. They knew what you were listening to.
All right, we got kind of looking through my notes here. When they're talking,
Have we gone through all of our characters?
we got to get through Roy. Like Roy's the other big one.
Roy, yeah. Roy.
I love Roy.
As a person, I figured that you would.
He has every reason to believe what he believes. He's not incorrect. He's competent. He saves Dean from stepping on a trap, so he's not like some evil prick.
Yeah.
I assumed it was his trap.
Believable.
And
Believable.
when someone's calling for help, he doesn't
runs.
he doesn't hesitate to go help him. He takes off after him. But
Now, is he? Does he come off as the nicest person? No.
No.
Does he come off as cocky? Yes.
Comes off as an
And
a-hole.
then
He's
you
the
ask
only
him-
one. I mean, the guy's walking in there with a leather jacket and boots.
Right.
You would assume he doesn't know, like, and they're planning on
Yeah.
spending days out there.
pulled up
Right.
in a muscle car.
Yeah,
Not
right.
nothing for off road.
Yeah.
Also, great little bit when they're getting ready. The fact that they prop up the trunk with a shotgun.
I think they
Love
constantly
that.
do that.
Like every time they've got into that weapon trunk, they just prop it with a shotgun.
Shotgun.
They don't care who sees. They truly don't.
The only thing that's missing is like 3 beer cans falling out of that thing. No one's ever propped up a trunk with a shotgun and not had 3 beer cans fall out as that's happening.
Especially
Like
Bud
that's
Heavies. Bud Heavies.
yeah.
Which is why we drink Bush Light here. We're responsible gun owners.
Bush Light for responsible gun.
That's
When
what
you're
gun
going on a
owners-
hunting trip, you need some Bush Light.
I-
We specifically like to take the John Deere camo cans for that.
And for as close-minded as you assume Roy is, at some point he is in a camp with 2 guys not equipped for the woods, who are drawing signs in the dirt
yes.
with their
And they're
heels
supposedly,
and
protection
making circles
spells.
around the camp protection signs and
Spells.
spells.
Like,
And he's just like, yeah, I don't care. Like he wasn't.
yeah. He
Kind of
wasn't.
weird, but all right.
Like,
Yeah, that was-
okay.
Yeah, Roy.
He was a 3-dimensional character. He had hopes and dreams.
I kind of wish he would have stuck around for a few more episodes.
Yeah, he's We're very much on the we're not holding on to character stage right now.
Don't get used to him.
A couple of the little things I did like though, kind of talking about that slow burn of adding to the creature. I like the whole discussing the symbols, like where Wendigos live. The fact that they ruled out things like like as a skinwalker or a black dog, and then they're like, oh, well, it's not those things, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole discussion.
So,
They don't quite
and
understand why a Wendigo would be in the area because they mentioned that it'd be forests
South.
of Minnesota or
Minnesota,
Michigan or
yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
which, for me, not seeing any of these episodes before was really cool because as they're talking about these things, since they don't jump right to X, you're like, okay, I learned something about skinwalkers. I learned something about the dog thing. Like you're slowly building up this kind of
Vocabulary.
this vocabulary, this knowledge on things. So in the future, if I'm keeping good track, I could be like, oh, that Skinwalker, they said this thing about Skinwalker, and maybe I get to feel good about catching something early down the line.
Also, I was a big fan of their discussion way earlier in the episode about it being a corporeal
Oh,
and
yeah.
him just giving him
'Cause
shit.
it-
So it was like
Yeah.
a nice little,
Yes, nice
Yeah.
word.
nice little brother, nice word. Just a little brother moment. Let's see.
So, any other characters you guys want to mention?
You want to talk about the guy getting his stomach ripped out while his friend's watching?
We're not worried about that guy.
True. Yeah, no.
That's it.
Don't worry about that one.
He
Don't worry
did.
about that one.
My biggest secret hit here was time stamping this, carbon dating this to 2005 with the seashell necklace in the opening scene,
Yes.
and perfectly encapsulating that. And for all of us 30-year-olds watching, we go, "Oh my God, that happened!
Yep.
Why?"
We know.
Yep. It
I
was cool.
thought it back then, but I was like, "Yep, all right." I know exactly where I was in life when this aired again. Like it's just right, exactly.
Right.
I'm kind of looking at some of my
Yeah,
notes at this point. I really like the scene of them finding the campsite. I thought that whole thing was done well.
And then
Kind of
you
this-
get the help call, and the thing takes their stuff.
That's fucking another just like any of the side stuff like that was the more disturbing parts of the
Yeah.
episode. Like the creature itself showing up wasn't that bad.
It was
That initial scream for help was ugh.
like the implication
Yeah.
of this thing being super smart and like luring them away and then stranding
Right?
them
They
there.
think they're out hunting,
Yeah.
but
It's hunting
It's
them.
the
hunting
second
them.
that happens,
Yeah.
you're like,
Takes their
"This is
bags."
the other way around. You are not. They're not on even.
And I think when that happens, that's when Roy goes, okay, I'll believe anything out here now. So that's when he allows them to do the circles around the camp.
Right? He's like,
That's fair. They established that a bit.
Yeah,
Like
that's probably-
I think it's one of the things where like his initial thought is some crazy motherfucker out here came out here and stole our stuff. He's like,
Yeah.
what are the odds that a bear attacked this campsite and then a guy came up and stole her bags from the same spot.
Right. Within 10 minutes of us getting here.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's like it's nice, subtle, it's off screen. Also, you get the whole Sam blowing up bit where he kind of doesn't want to give that whole scene where there's that quieter scene of them just talking about kind of Sam's state of mind, how he doesn't care about helping people, he just wants to go murder,
Kill the thing that
kill his girlfriend.
killed his girlfriend. He's about getting those people out of there and getting on the road to Dad because he knows that Dad's not there anymore. Okay. So, yeah, we talked about the monster a little bit. Though that build up to it. The mine part, yeah, it's not really too scary except for when he splits up and he, I think, has a flare gun and he's waiting for it and it doubles back on him, on Sam.
Oh yeah, that quick cut shot of like you get half its face lit right next to him.
Right. And it screams at him and fires and he misses.
Yeah.
And then he's running and he runs past them. He's telling them to run because they're still standing there and he's just like, all right, see ya.
I do like when they first split off, like Dean goes to split off and like, what are you gonna do? And he just winks and then he runs away and he immediately starts just yelling shit talk.
Yeah.
My one note there is Dean going as bait. So hot. I was just like that. I was like,
that Hansel's so hot right now.
Like, if there were more women there, there'd be,
Pheromone burst.
There'd be a couple of them like, oh, maybe we should follow him. Like, it got me. It got me. I was like, yeah, all right.
Zach was aroused.
Yep.
Can you do a sound bit for that? Can you do a sound bit?
We're just gonna get that as a permanent audio.
Wow.
It's like the douche on Parks and Rec. They just use sound bits for the whole damn thing.
We're not doing that.
I've got 3 little notes here. First, there is one more Roy scene we didn't discuss. When they realize they've been led into a trap and his body just falls out of the fucking tree.
Oh yes,
yeah.
well, yeah, Roy. R.I.P. to Roy. Roy gets taken up in the tree, which is another almost jump scare style.
Neck snapped.
Death of the week, right?
Oh,
Death of the
oh,
week.
that's the
Yeah,
week.
Death of the week. That was Death of the
the
week.
week, or is the stomach?
I thought he snapped.
Oh,
his
it was
neck.
off.
Alive.
It's the off-screen.
Right.
I think this one's better because you see the thing's hands come down, snap his neck, and yank him
Yeah,
out.
it was
Yeah,
gruesome.
And they explain why, because they talk about how these Wendigos, collect people and eat them over time.
Mm-hmm.
They explain why they didn't collect him.
Just pissed him off.
Yeah.
Pissed him off by shooting at him.
Pissed him off.
All right. So monster demon they face, the Wendigo. What is it? They talk a little bit about it. They kind of show us what is it.
So
Started
basically,
off as a human.
human who was cannibalizing.
Yeah.
And then it got faster, stronger, taller, all of that, but becomes more of a creature than a human. Like it's just
Because they talk in many world cultures, eating human flesh gives you powers, they say.
Yeah.
So,
Which
go ahead.
my question now is, what is going on in northern Minnesota that makes these things pop up there so much? Like,
Ice fishing? I don't know. Two guys get stuck on a
fucking
lake.
exhilarating.
They get stuck out
Fucking
somewhere.
exhilarating. Right. And they mentioned it could be Native Americans, it could be miners, it could be
mostly Vikings.
trappers.
Mostly Vikings fans waiting for a Super Bowl.
Just cannibalizing each other.
You got to get excitement somewhere, I guess. When the season's over in December every year, you got to do something. I'm sorry, we'll have to cut that because what I meant to say was when the season's over in October.
You give him a lot of credit there in December.
I also put a little note here. Fuck entering a mine shaft for any reason ever. Like, if you're a coal miner and you're watching this, you're braver than I am because no.
I'm not gonna lie. So I read it when they went to the mine shaft, and the cement part over the top, and it said no, and then I could not read what it was. I couldn't figure it out. I thought it was AO. It is admittance. I was like, what the hell is that
Oh,
word?
you
Is
you
it
pick up on the
German?
D.
What the hell is that? Because it looked like it was like almost circular D, and I was like, oh my god! I finally figured it out after literally staring at it for like 3 minutes. That's why,
Pause.
yeah. What the
We're not
hell
gonna
is
let the
that?
tension of the scene move up anymore. I
Mm-mm.
gotta
I
know.
need to know what that
Yeah, no.
says.
Yeah.
Decipher this. There's clearly some message left by the Wendigo that I need to interpret. I'll know what's going to happen before it happens if I can
Exactly.
decipher this
All right.
message.
These
So, favorite or
hieroglyphics.
scariest part of the episode? I already said mine. Scariest part for me was the jump scare at the beginning.
Was that your favorite part though?
That wasn't my favorite. That was the scariest part. I don't know if I really have a favorite. Probably when Roy says that he's going to split up, and they're like, "No, we should stay together." And he's like, "No, I'll be fine, princess." He goes off.
Uh, I think scariest part for me is definitely the fucking jump scare. Like it's unexpected. You're not ready for it.
Right, because they showed the scary part. You think of the beginning. They're in the car. Boom! It happens.
Well, right before they get in the car, because it's
Right.
transition from the dream to
Yeah.
the car. It's like, oh, fuck.
Right. Right.
I think my favorite part of the episode might be actually it's either the scene with the old man telling a story or just that little moment of them bullshitting about it being a corporeal and non-corporeal. Like, I like that kind of just character interaction.
Yeah. You got to have that in that first season, though. So to kind of build on that. Zach, what about you?
I don't know. I was rooting for most of those. The the brother and sister to die. They just didn't really sell me on like people I cared about.
Even
I
Sam,
didn't care
buddy.
if they
Even
found their
Sam.
brother. Didn't care that they found him alive. The friend either. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the acting or the episode. Other things were interesting. R.I.P. Roy. He had something. They had to put a lot into a short amount of time, but I was like, man, if none of these people are coming back, I really just don't care if we spend any time on them. Um, this episode was not a high flyer in my opinion. I'm probably below super neutral on this one, and just below neutral here. Um, the scary parts were good. The monster was decent.
Yeah,
The
do we
hunting
want to?
part was good, but like the end fight and stuff, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. The only two people I cared about were the main characters, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it out in episode 2 here.
So you didn't care about Roy?
Uh,
You're telling me you didn't care about Roy?
Come on.
I cared
everybody
about
cares
Roy
Roy.
right up until he went running off, and they're like, "No, don't go." I'm like, "Well, there's your. We know what's going to happen right
He
there.
cut
He's going to
ties
die.
with
They already
Roy.
told him the gun ain't going to do anything. The guy in the leather jacket tells you that gun isn't going to help you, and you don't listen to him. I don't know what you're doing out in the woods anyway.
The leather jacket's what does it for me.
There was a whole. Never mind. I can't say that.
Hey, I'm glad you're working
Thank
on
you.
it. You're stopping yourself from saying things.
Thank you for not
Jordan
making me
does
write
that
that
to cut
down.
everything.
Hey, Jordan, just go ahead and take a look at the timestamp real quick.
All right,
Guess I'm gonna go ahead and say it now.
we're at 46 minutes.
I was gonna say because there's a whole lot.
My God, stop it.
Oh,
Damn it.
cut Eric saying.
All right, so Jordan, your scariest favorite part.
I think the thing that scared me the most was the jump scare. Like that made me physically jump. I think the scariest part is probably when we see. I guess. I don't know. For me, it's more like the psychological stuff of the build up to it. The stuff that the old guy says. This when the thing takes their stuff after it lures them into the woods, mimicking one of the guys' voices. I guess in general, the scary part for me is the build up to how scary the monster is, not necessarily what the monster did. You know what I mean?
Not so much the Blair Witch itself, but what the Blair Witch is putting them through.
Oh my god, I don't want to think about Blair Witch. Anyway, um,
I'm so scared right now.
I'm so startled. I think my favorite part might have been, like Eric mentioned, the scene with the old guy. I thought that was really cool. It really set up the how scary this thing actually is. I mean, we saw it murder allegedly two people, and kidnap one, but I think that scene was
Allegedly, what's this guy trying to defend
allegedly.
this thing?
Hold on, we don't know
Allegedly.
if the other guy's dead. All right,
We don't know.
we heard some noises, sure.
Jordan, the Wendigo's. You can
Uh,
assume it's guilty.
Oh my god! All right, 40, 48.
Why can't I help myself? I've had a third of a beer.
It's like,
God. Oh my god.
It's like I don't even have an excuse.
One thing
All right.
I would say that one
Editing.
thing I do
Editing brought to you by Bush Light.
Don't edit sober. One thing that I did appreciate about the episode is, I mean, I don't know if I appreciate it, but it does set up the scene for like, okay, clearly we established everything in the first episode. Now we're in the second episode, so we're gonna see that. Oh well, they're just gonna follow what the trail that the breadcrumbs that their dad left to them. So it kind of like sets up what we're expecting for going forward. Is
Right.
Dad sends them something, they're gonna go take care of it and then get closer to finding him.
That's actually what my theory had to do with, because this is I'm going to try and call a shot as often as I can, since I'm the only one currently like that has no roadmap going forward. So here's my early prediction on moving forward. The way Dean was talking to Sam, he definitely knows more about like Dad's situation than he's letting on, was what I got. So my call right now is that he already knows that Dad's dead, and they're following this trail, and his hook is either get Sam back into this life because he needs a partner, and then just and find out what killed Dad. He needs the help, the sense I got was Dad's dead. Dean knows he's got this thing going. He's trying to bring Sam back in, either just because he needs a partner or he actually needs help with whatever happened to Dad. But that's my early
theory.
That's my call this episode.
Okay. Jordan, you wanted to comment on the effects or CG.
Oh yeah, I think that's something I want to pay attention to every episode. And this one, I think it did really well for the most part until you actually, like at the end when they light the thing on fire, that looked crappy. But like the other parts of it, I think they danced around it really well, like the way they should have done it. But yeah.
Well, like the next app looked great.
Yeah. Like everything else looked.
That's a broad
fine.
daylight shot, which is.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing we really have to go over, well, two things. Kind of where we kind of at on our Sam and Dean journey, like how we feel about them as characters at this point, and then kind of like where they're at. Like, do we like how the way like their characters are moving? Do we like where they're at? And where are you kind of feeling on which one's your character choice?
Okay, so I'll start off with that. So Sam and Dean, you really get this idea that Sam is out for revenge in this episode. Like for the first 3/4 of the episode, Sam, or 2/3, I should say, it isn't the whole thing, but he is, I want to get in, I want to find Dad, I want to get out, I don't want to deal with people, that type of stuff. And it really starts to take effect when they are searching, and he's like, why are we here? If Dad's gone, he's not even here, or he was never even here, why are we here? We need to get these people out of here. We need to get on the road and go find Dad and kill whatever killed his girlfriend. And Dean is the one kind of brings him back. No, we do this to help people. Yes, our end goal is to find whatever killed mom and your girlfriend, and we do this to help people. And that's like where we get the first saying of they're saying, saving people, hunting things, the family business. We get that in this episode. I jotted that down. That was in my notes. That's like, I don't know if that's going to be a saying that continues throughout the whole thing, but this is that's one of the things that stood out to me. So that's characters. Dean's a level-headed one in this. Sam is shoot first, ask questions later, and even Dean comments on that. He says, "Whoa, when did you become the guy who rushes into stuff? You're supposed to be one who kind of thinks about it." So that's where I think they're at. That's my idea on that.
I think that's a pretty well summed up statement as to where they're at. Kind of episode. Where are you feeling that? Like, which character are you like connecting with the most of the two? Which one do you like more?
I like Dean more than Sam, but I think that's just my consensus from what I know for the first season and a half. We get that sense, and it could switch. Excuse me, but that's mine right there.
Positive feelings or negative feelings on Sam? Still like him as a character, or?
Oh yeah, I still like him as a character because he flips that switch 2/3 in the episode. He goes from we need to get out of here to almost making a connection with the weird brother on how they are searching for them, and then he pretty much protects all three. He says, "Get behind me," even though he has no protection against this Wendigo when it traps them in the corner of the mine. So that kind of shows that he's willing to connect with people, probably better than Dean is, because he's the one who makes connections. He's the one who asks the questions, kind of gets in with people. And then two, he's willing to put himself before others when the danger does happen. So,
Zach,
why are you trying to sell everybody on Sam? I don't get it. Dean's the cool one. He's the driver here, literally and metaphorically. It's a notable event when Sam gets to sit in the driver's seat, because obviously he's probably going to crash the car in the first 5 minutes of the next episode. But I don't know what it is about Sam. I don't like him yet. He's the guy that plays all buddy and then tries to sleep with your girlfriend. It never happened to me, but if I was friends with him, it probably would have. I don't know why. It's just the vibe I get out of him right now. It's just, he expects it out of Dean, but he would never do that. He's a principled man.
It's a principled man.
Sam, I don't know. And maybe that's the difference, because Sam's, he's the younger brother. He's playing a less experienced person. He doesn't feel like, they're both 20-something-year-old guys, but Dean's like the man, and Sam still kind of feels like a boy to me.
That's
so I would like to know, as far as the guy who would steal your girlfriend, Dean has a line in this episode where he turns to a woman and says, "That is the most honest I've ever been with a woman. Ever. Most honest I've ever been."
And hit on
I said, Sam would be the one that plays all buddy with you and then tries to do it. Dean would walk up and be like, that's your girlfriend? And you'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, well,
he did it to his brother the first episode.
He said, we'll see.
My girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't do it behind your back. He'd tell you there's a challenge going on right now.
He's a man with high standards.
Oh my God.
His standards might not be high, but they're standards.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's a question. It's a morality scale there. They're both very gray.
Fair enough. Jordan?
One's grayer.
I would say, okay, so to play devil's advocate for Sam, okay, so Sam, obviously, I think I appreciate him as a character because he's obviously emotional, and so he's the guy who
The woman.
He's like, whatever. But so like we see him like he's mad, and then he's kind of up and down, dealing with things, whereas Dean's like a rock. He's like always like this, he's not fazed by all this crap.
You get more of an emotion. You get more actually acting scenes out of Sam's character.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I appreciate Sam's like character for what he is. Obviously, I think Dean's a more fun and cooler character, But I think without the Sam character, I don't think the Dean character is as cool. You know what I mean? If they were both like Dean, it would just be like two blockheads.
Two bros taking down
It wouldn't be
monsters,
as fun.
Killing
I don't think
shooting
it'd be as
stuff,
cool.
drinking beer, driving their cool car around the
It would
country. That's what I want in a show. Why won't anyone give that to me?
It would just be a dude film.
That's
Like,
probably what was my whole problem with the episode.
We're guys. We make beef jerky. Shit with the doors.
Go on riverboat gambling
Gambling
trips.
So Dee's my favorite character, but I appreciate Sam's character for what it is accomplishing, I guess.
At this point in the game, I have to agree. Like,
Yeah, based on now, not like looking outward to the other episode. Just
I'm
like,
just trying to think of what would have to happen for me to be like, oh no, I'm definitely off Team Dean.
now.
I'm sure there's plenty of episodes. I'm sure he's going to do something where I'm like, wow, that
only
lost.
15 seasons.
Yeah,
There's
it's
not
going
enough
to
for you to-
happen. I'm just trying to like come up in my head because maybe it'll be that situation. But we'll see. If it happens, I'll fess up. But
One thing I will tell you is, right now we're not getting a lot of recurring characters. Start getting a little deeper in, we're going to start getting characters that are going to show back up time to, like, and there will be characters you will think will be one-offs that will then show up again later episodes.
Mhm.
So
that's great because my one thought for most of these supplemental characters in this episode is I hope I never see them again. I was kind of wanting Roy to come back, and then I was like, well, Roy's not coming back. I was like, this is a wash for me.
Roy's
The last 20 minutes of that episode, I was just like, let's go.
Wrap it up. You
Yeah.
got the wrap it up music going.
I don't want any of these people coming back. Kill them all.
Eric, anything
Kill
else
the
you
kid.
need to add?
I think the last thing is, what are we looking forward to the next episode, which is called Dead in the Water.
I mean, that kind of gives an idea to it, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. I mean, what I'm looking forward to is still, we got a little bit of the brotherly, giving shit to each other in that episode, like you've mentioned before, Eric, but it was nothing really too much in that episode. It was a lot less than the first episode. But you get more of a almost going back and forth in an emotional way with pretty much Dean talking Sam off the ledge of trying to get out of there, pretty much. So kind of seeing more of a brotherly style is what I kind of look forward to. And then, getting different characters for Zach to hate and them to die off instantly for him. That's also what I look forward to, so he can complain about that. Those are my two things. Go ahead, Zach.
What I've enjoyed on this show, the monster stuff hasn't blown me away. The investigative side of it, kind of the more procedural, it's been good. So I think they have a good formula there. These two guys definitely have outstanding rapport as actors and as these characters. So I think the more that if episodes that going to lean in more to that, I think I'm going to enjoy more than something that's like, well, this one's going to be like half horror movie. You either got to go all in, and you can't put everybody at stake. You got two guys that are going to be in the show for the most part. It's episode 2. You're not killing off one of the guys on the cover.
Crazy. They're actually not
I'm
in
looking forward
seasons
to
9 through 14.
Once the contract disputes come into play after season 3, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know if there ever were any, but I like the investigative stuff. That's interesting. I mean, it's not like getting into the nitty gritty, but it's just they have a good cadence with it. They have a good style about it. That's been interesting so far. So I'm looking forward to more of those. And if an episode leans more into that over trying to be scary or highlight a monster, I still think it's going to be
just fine.
Interesting. Yeah.
Jordan.
I think Eric, you mentioned it on the first episode about the side characters on how they're
Episode 1.
Yeah. I think I guess the first time I watched the show, I wasn't really paying attention to that, but now I am. Like on this episode, I was like, oh dang, like some of these side characters, like the old guy, I was really impressed with like him, and I was actually impressed with Roy too. I'm like, so I think that's what I'm looking forward to is like the performance of some of these side characters, not just being like these crappy actors that they just throw on. Like they're actually like legit. Even if they're only one-offs, like they're still good at at their role.
And like you kind of get an interesting thing with this show, because you'll get some of those actors who are just like this, like I'm a working actor. This is what I do, and you also get you're the cheapest actor we can find. You may not be the best, but we'll take you.
Mm-hmm.
As the show gets more established, like they get some like it starts to become a thing where like people want to be on the show, and they can afford people more to be on the show. So you start getting more talented people doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Like I can tell you that there is an episode that Taika Waititi shows up in, for example, as a character.
What?
Interesting.
Was that a later
this was
season? Because I don't remember that.
It was a later season, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is he a vampire?
No, the meta on that would have been fantastic.
Oh my God.
Crossover.
Why not?
Missed
All right, well then
opportunity.
I'm still interested. It's just like the obvious, like
Right. All right, Eric, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm a bit more knowledgeable on everything than you guys are. I know where it's going. I know the big beats. I forgot parts of this episode. I knew it had a happy ending, which already pissed me off from the start. I kind of wanted that darker twist where maybe the friend was alive, but he was dead. It would have been kind of a nice twist on it. But I guess you have to keep some positive vibes going early on in your show. It can't all be like everyone's sad all the time.
It's on it.
it was made in 2005. It was a different.
It was a different
The
time.
world is
Times
full
were
of pain
different.
and suffering.
Anyways, and then I'm really looking forward to one last thing. I'm really looking forward to them getting eventually they get to the point where every episode they go, "Wow, this is something really supernatural," and they look right at the camera. And I go,
Just break the fourth wall in every episode.
"It's a weird decision, but it works."
For some reason, it's always one of the extras. Like they're not supposed to be in it, and they just keep winking at the damn camera.
Who let him back in?
Get him out
Signs
of here.
everywhere with his face on it.
I'm waiting for the episode that all of the It's Always Sunny cast was extras in on their own show, and it was a supernatural episode where they just keep talking in the background. Or that episode from It's Always Sunny. Where they just keep talking and they get kicked off like multiple times.
Oh yeah, the zombie stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, other than that, I don't think we have much else to talk about. Any other points anybody wants to make before we sign off for this episode?
No points. It'll be an edited episode like the previous one. We're still trying to figure out our release cadence, but we're getting a few of these in the bank ahead of time so that we can play with that. May or may not have a Patreon.
Yeah, so if you have pointers about episode 3, we ignored them because it'll have already happened. Tell us what to do on episode 10.
Or 11, more precisely.
Yeah.
And make sure you comment on episode 1, because by the time you get to this one, we'll be on the 13th.
It's a going back and forth. We'll figure it out.
It's a work in progress. Next time
I won't be reading them, so you can say whatever you want about me.
we'll plug our socials and stuff like that. Next time.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we got a Reddit thread going.
Oh yeah, we do have a Reddit thread. We'll get that.
Our
link.
super neutral bros. Maybe we'll have a Twitter or something going. There won't be a Facebook.
We don't have it yet. We definitely need a Twitter. Maybe,
It'll probably be a Facebook. It'll just be private and unused.
maybe an OnlyFans. I don't know.
If there are enough requests for an OnlyFans, that will happen.
It'll be feet pictures only, though.
Only feet, just feet.
Only feet. Or if you're willing to pay enough, I'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a whore.
God. That's the first tier is the feet, and then there's the everything else tier.
You will have to subscribe to the feet tier, but we're exploring possibilities past that one. You're probably actually here because of that OnlyFans page.
You don't give a
Don't
crap.
ask why it's been out longer than the
We
show.
won't tell you whose feet belong to who. You have to figure that out yourself. But if you do get it right, we will give you a month free.
In all honesty, the podcast is to promote that.
This
not
is
the
just
other-
us
not
propping
other way
the
around.
OnlyFans.
But we figured if
page.
there's going to be anyone looking for feet pictures of men, it's going to be people who watch Supernatural religiously.
Supernatural fans.
He just alienated the whole. Everyone watch. Okay, hold on. 108.
That stays in. That's how we. That is the end of the
Oh,
episode.
that right
That
there.
is
That's our trail off noise. Like it goes black and it's
Okay.
just saying if
Every
anybody's interested,
episode
it's gonna be
ends.
some
We
Supernatural
figured
fans.
if anyone's going to get into an OnlyFans for men's
Oh
feet,
my
they were probably fans of Supernatural.
For Jared, Zach, Jordan, I'm Eric. That's episode 2 of Supernatural Bros. Till the next one.
Thank you.
Oh my
Jesus.
god.
My
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my god. I will be
God.
pitching, I will be squeezing that in every episode.